Welcome, everybody. Thursday, June 29th. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report. Here to talk to you about the latest news from the war in Ukraine. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to get, where is my thing? I'm going to get my TikTok rolling. Trying to get one of those, what do they call these things? Those like wipey rags that are like super absorbent or whatever they are. Anyway, my nephew bought like 10,000 of them. So I use it for wiping my computer. Anyway, let me get, hey, Bjorn from Ulm. Oh, that's right, Bjorn. You're Bjorn. I remember you, of course. Bjorn the German, just to confuse me. Let me get TikTok rolling right here, guys. TikTok, go live. There we go. And welcome, everybody. If you would, as always, introduce yourselves. Just say kind of who you are, where you're from. And we will wait about 2 minutes for folks to arrive, and then we will start the show. Woo! Oh, my. I've had a busy day. I was rolling out the new auction items in our Discord. We do a Ukraine auction every week. The auction ends every Wednesday. So it's a lot, but it's a lot of work actually setting it up. It sounds kind of funny being virtual and all. You think it would be easy, but I spent a good chunk of my day setting up the auction items, but we have like 10 very, I'd say the best things that I have auctioned off yet. So it's in our Discord. Go check it out. Discord.aravosis.com. But as I said, we'll wait a minute for folks to arrive here. Hello, Sweden. Annikat. There we go. Having some tea to perk me up. And stave off, if that's the word, stave off my hunger a little bit. Anyway, evening UK, kef. How's everybody else doing? Busy day for anybody. It was just busy. Hazy, yes, hazy day, that's for sure. I'm seeing Hayes's name and I'm thinking hazy. Yes, we had the attack of the Canadian forest fires today in Washington D.C. So very bad for us. It was up to a good hazy. I forget the number, like 170 something, but apparently like really dangerous haze, and you could smell the smoke. It's always creepy to me, like all the way down in Washington D.C. and over in Washington D.C. that we can smell the smoke from the Canadian fires. Just very creepy. Very creepy. Anyway. All right. I'll get started. Welcome, everybody. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report. This is my nightly show. Just checking. We got enough here. My nightly show from Washington, D.C., where we talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Welcome all. The way the show works, I've got my pages of notes. The way the show works is, thank you, Succeed. I go through the news and then take your guys' questions as a thank you for those buying Super Chat questions. However, I will always get to Super Chat questions as the next thing I talk about as a thank you for supporting my work. Ways you guys can help me out. Thank you, Korea Uzi American. The ways you guys can help me out because I do this full time and do it for free, so to speak. But because I'm not rich, I got to pay the bills somehow. So you guys provide my salary with all the gifts you give. So thank you for that. I will always try to do a shout out. Thank you, Succeed, for the crown. I will always try to do a shout out for those TikTok gifts, the larger gifts that show up on screen, only because there's too many. There's too many overall. So I just can't for everything. But the large, like those. Thank you, Tomcat. I will always try to do a shout out when I see it. And for you guys, Super Chats, like I said, and Super Stickers, I will as well do a shout out, and for Super Chats, I will always answer the questions. That's about it for starters. Let me get rolling, guys. Thank you, Tomcat. So today is day 490 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation. 490. Lot of news about the coup aftermath still, so we'll be talking a lot about that today. I was going to start a little bit first, just to talk a little bit about the counteroffensive, but really not that much. Thank you, Nicholas. I know I can tell, by the way, people are saying TikTok, thank you, Martin, isn't putting out the notifications. I can tell because we're getting fewer people arriving all of a sudden. The last couple of days, the initial rush of people is much lower. TikTok is being funny again. TikTok, they're, if anything, they're funny people over at TikTok. So what do? We just keep going and, we'll survive. Maybe it's fewer trolls. Hey, in any case, so the only really news to report on the counteroffensive right now is from Bakhmut again. The Ukrainians report that they've made some progress going against the Russian positions around Bakhmut. And what's interesting with that, Bakhmut, let me grab my handy dandy map here. You can tell what I do for a living because my Ukraine map was buried behind a Russian military vest from Ukraine. My apartment is being taken over by Ukraine. Thank you, Big Hawk. It makes me laugh a little bit. Thank you, Nico. So Bakhmut is the town over here in Ukraine. That's the city that the Russians and the Ukrainians were fighting for, Ukrainian city, fighting for about 11 months. And Russians finally got it maybe a month ago. Strategically, not very significant. It's really not clear why the Russians were willing to lose so many men, so much equipment going after it, but they did. And anyway, the Ukrainians have been making steady progress, slow and steady, particularly north and south of the city. Thank you, Ellie. And they made a little more progress in the last 24 hours. Thank you, Lee. And also, even the Russian military bloggers are admitting that the Ukrainians, that there's heavy fighting, that basically, the Russians are starting to have a difficult time of it. So that's good. So again, going slowly, but progressing. Now, I want to talk for a little bit, of course, about the coup aftermath. Still interesting coup aftermaths here. Thank you, Succeed, for the meteor shower. Sorry, quick sip of tea. Now, we know that there was the big coup attempt in Russia over the weekend. We know it failed. But the aftermath has been really quite interesting and good. Good if you're Ukrainian or pro-Ukrainian. Thank you, Eli. Or Ellie, really bad if you're Russian, because for starters, thank you, Elizabeth, General Surovikin, who's one of Russia's top generals. He's the head of the Air Force. He is referred to as General Armageddon for running sort of all sorts of really hideous airstrikes when he was, thank you, Eva, when he was a top general for Russia down in Syria, right, causing all sorts of trouble down there. So I'm putting on my fan as I talk to you. There we go. My air conditioning fan. And he may be in prison. He may be in police custody. We don't know. Nobody's saying. It's very weird. This guy was very close to Prigozhin. We know that. We also know Prigozhin being the coup leader. Okay. We also know that once the coup started, he went on TV in Moscow and said, "Hey, Prigozhin, stop doing this. This is bad, right? Don't overthrow the government." The only problem was, everyone said at the time, he looked like he was doing a hostage video. Thank you, Elizabeth. He looked like he was doing a hostage video. Like basically somebody had put him up to this, on pain of death. It wasn't like he was just defending, I was going to say defending democracy, but it's Russia. There's no democracy. But it wasn't like he was defending Mother Russia. He was terrified doing this. Well, subsequently, article comes out yesterday. I'm forgetting which paper, but article comes out yesterday. Thank you, John, for the heart, and says that Surovikin was one of the people that was, according to U.S. intelligence, was one of the people briefed. I think it might have been 2 days ago, but briefed by Prigozhin, the coup leader. So in other words, the coup leader called his friend, one of Russia's top generals, and briefed him on the coup. And it looks like the general Surovikin may not have told anybody that it was taking place. So there have been repeated. Oh, thank you, Carlos. That was very nice of you. Thank you for that, for the super sticker. There were repeated stories that we have seen now suggesting that Surovikin has been arrested. The Associated Press is the latest. They say they have talked to sources in U.S. and Ukrainian intelligence circles who have assessed that Surovikin has in fact been arrested. His daughter, I believe, came out today and said, oh, thank you, Tracy. His daughter came out today and said, no, he hasn't. He's just very quietly working because that's what he does. Now, it is true that he's not somebody who's a big media mogul. That's not his shtick. But you also have to realize we're dealing with Russia, and Russia, very much like the Soviet Union, they're very loath to tell you what's going on. And it's very strange. I don't know why. But they are. They're very loath to tell folks what's going on. And in this case, severe thunderstorm watch. Whoa, look out. In this case, there's just too much smoke at this point. There's got to be fire. It looks like this guy at least was taken into custody. I believe the Russians said today there was a, here we go, per CNN. Again, lots of reports all over the place. Per CNN, a Russian official has said that General Surovikin is not being held in a pre-trial detention. Listen to how detailed this is, okay? General Surovikin is not being held in a pre-trial detention center in Moscow. So he might be being held. It may not be a pre-trial detention center. It may be one, but it may not be in Moscow, right? I mean, right? He may not even be held, but is he undergoing lots of questioning voluntarily? right? I mean, you get it? Like they're not telling us what's going on. I think it's pretty clear this guy was arrested. He was taken into custody at the very least, and Putin is trying to figure out what the hell the truth is, because Putin is a paranoid. And Putin, there is no way, being so paranoid as he is, that he wouldn't sit there and at least take Surovikin into custody and have them question him to find out, is he in cahoots? Well, it gets even worse for Surovikin today. So, by the way, somebody is out to get this guy. In Western intelligence, clearly. This stuff that's being leaked reeks of, thank you, Mads, it reeks of somebody in Western intelligence that's trying to hurt this guy. Now, that doesn't mean it's fake. That doesn't mean it's fake, but somebody's trying to get him. Listen to this. CNN just reports, somebody leaks to CNN. Thank you, Tracy. I shouldn't say somebody, but a private group has documents that they showed to CNN showing that, along with at least 30 other senior Russian military and intelligence officials, Surovikin was a secret VIP member of the Wagner group. Now, nobody knows what that means. Nobody knows, like, do you have to ask to be a secret VIP member? Does the Wagner group make you a secret VIP member, even if you say, no, please don't? Nobody really knows. The thing is, the fact that this comes out now against this guy, somebody is out to get him. It could be U.S. intelligence. It could be Western intelligence. It could be somebody in Moscow itself that's out to get him. But there is clearly a hot war going on, I think, in Moscow, from what we're hearing and everything, that there's what I mean is everybody surrounding Putin is trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And they don't know what's going on. They don't know who to trust. And that's fabulous for Ukraine, because it makes it harder for the Russians to execute a war if they don't know who to trust. So anyway, all very good news. Latest news on the Wagner Group leader Prigozhin, who was the leader of the coup. He reportedly, we know this, he's refused to sign any contracts, which we know, by the way. Yeah, exactly. $19.99 a month VIP access. Exactly, to the Wagner Group. Exactly. Exactly. That's cute. Hang on. Prigozhin has refused to sign the contracts with the Pentagon, with the Kremlin. You may recall that Moscow, even before the coup, and this may have been part of the reason the coup happened, by the way, was even before the coup, Moscow was requiring all the Wagner Group men, the mercenaries, to sign a contract with the Russian Ministry of Defense. Previously, they'd been working for Wagner directly, which is, a private military company, but this is Russia, where nothing's entirely private. Oh, thank you, TNT. Sorry, TNT Dynamite just signed up to be a member of our subscription service over at YouTube, which basically is a way of supporting my work. And if you have Discord, it will give you VIP access on the Discord and access to our weekend show. To get the weekend show, thank you, Lilia. To get the weekend show, you really do need to do it via Discord. I can try to do it via YouTube directly, but it's easier to do it via Discord. So please do try to sign up there if you're interested in joining us for that. But thank you both for that. Lilia, you rock. So what was I saying? Prigozhin. Oh yeah. Even before the coup, Moscow wanted to basically get, thank you, LWD. Oh, the crazy clown car. I love that. The scary clowns. Moscow wanted to get the Prigozhin people to sign contracts. Thank you, Kenneth. Everybody's being very generous today on YouTube. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you signing up for the memberships. Moscow wanted to get all the Prigozhin guys to sign contracts with the Russian Ministry of Defense. So in essence, they would work directly for the Russian ministry and really become regular Russian military men, in essence, right? No longer this private army. Well, Prigozhin himself, the leader of the coup, told his men, don't do it, don't sign it. Reportedly, now we hear that before the coup happened, he was told, that's it, your forces, thank you, LWD, your forces are no longer fighting in Ukraine because you won't sign the contract. I read something else right now that also said that he was, thank you, Kanowski and Martin, both for the gifts there on TikTok. Thank you, guys. That he was told that his men will not be fighting in Ukraine going forward either. Now, this gets very complicated. And what I mean is, once again, we're looking at Russia, thank you, Courtney, and trying to figure out the truth by reading the tea leaves. It's a little weird. The Russians have continued, they just started up again to recruit for Wagner Group, okay? Which is interesting, since now we're also hearing them saying Wagner will no longer fight in Ukraine, right? So which one is it? I was reading something today that suggested, and this, I'm guessing this is probably what's going to happen, that Putin, oh God, I called him Putiner or Putler. Oh, don't want to call him that. That Putin, I was saying Putin, Wagner, Putner, that Putin is going to continue the Wagner group, but continue it with basically different people. That he likes the model. He likes the fact that the Wagner group was a very good fighting force, much better than the Russian military's fighting force. But he doesn't like the people who are there, because the people who are there have allegiance to Prigozhin, who's the leader, who of course launched the coup, right? So it looks like Putin wants to get rid of the current people. And he already told them, you can sign up for the contracts with the Ministry of Defense that are much worse contracts, lower money, and they're like contracts in perpetuity. The Wagner contracts are for 6 months at a time. If you sign up with the Russian Ministry of Defense, it's till the end of the war and then some, right? Thank you, Louis. So they're probably not going to do that. He said you can go home, or you can go and you can go and move to Belarus with Prigozhin, your BFF. I think what Putin's going to do is he's going to recreate the Wagner group. No more Prigozhin, no more Prigozhin's top generals and top, Peter's saying a kinder, gentler Wagner. Only kinder and gentler insofar as being loyal to Putin, right? So I think he wants to get rid of Prigozhin. He wants to get rid of Prigozhin's top generals, top guys in the Wagner group, and replace them with people who are absolutely positively loyal to him, Vladimir Putin, and then try to recreate the Wagner magic without Prigozhin and without these people who aren't loyal to him. Can he pull it off? Who knows? I mean, thank you, Robert. I have no idea, what makes, some of the military, I don't even know if any of our military folks know what makes Wagner so successful versus the Russian military, but can you do it by changing all the people? And by giving them less money, by the way, too, because it's not clear that you're not going to give them the same amount of money. Is he going to give them the same amount of money that regular Russian conscripts get? Right. So anyway, that is what's up with that. Oh, and I will repeat the point I made yesterday, which is very important here. Thank you, Carol. The Wagner fighters, thank you, Lisa, are very good fighters. Okay. They are much better than the Russian Ministry of Defense fighters, than the regular Russian army. So by these guys no longer fighting in Ukraine, Russia has lost their top fighting men. B, the other big problem, Ukraine is fighting along a long front, right? The Russian front, I should say the front between Russia and Ukraine forces, this is all Ukraine, but the front between the forces comes down like this, cuts over like this, burp, and all of this down here is controlled by Russia, right? So this is all the front. Ukraine is fighting particularly here, and here at the moment. There's also some skirmishes apparently going here by Kherson. 25% of the troops fighting at the front are Wagner troops. So Russia potentially is about to lose, is losing, or has just lost 25% of their troops fighting at the front, and they're their best troops they've got, which makes it even more significant than 25%. So that's something to keep in mind just as we go forward in terms of how this aftermath of the coup is affecting the counteroffensive. There's a Wagner, we think it's a Wagner site. We're not sure. Intelligence has spotted construction underway of a site for Wagner mercenaries in Belarus, about 142 miles or 230 kilometers north of the border with Ukraine. Belarus is up here, nice country run by bad man, Lukashenko, dictator, and big friends with Putin. Okay. So the thinking is that that perhaps they are building some kind of a base for the Wagner people there to do what is an interesting question, because these are scary guys. Now, interestingly enough, we were talking about this yesterday and the day before about why it is that the Poles in Poland and the Latvians, Lithuanians, and Estonians are also worried about the Wagner group moving into Belarus, because Belarus borders several of those countries, right? Belarus is, move over here. Oh, thank you for the hat there. You're Robbie. Belarus is up here. Poland's over here. Then you get Lithuania, which borders Belarus, Latvia, which borders Belarus and Russia, and then Estonia. I'm learning my Eastern European maps. These guys are not thrilled about having basically a street gang of thugs on their border, because who knows what the Wagner group can do, right? Well, the Associated Press had a story today that was just delicious about how families within, adjusting my temperature again here in the apartment, guys. Literally, it's like the end of the day with the sun coming in. So it's always sort of a minute by minute adjustment here. The Associated Press interviewed some people, or got interviews. Thank you, Slava Ukraine. Thank you there. Listen to this. Inga, a 43-year-old doctor in Belarus, in the town where this Wagner camp is being constructed, says, there's military equipment in the streets and Belarusian servicemen. All residents are discussing the arrival of Wagnerites being the men of the Wagner group. And frankly speaking, we're panicking and are not happy about being neighbors with them. I have teenage daughters. How will we live next to thugs, pardoned murderers, and rapists? She's not wrong. The Associated Press did a story the other day looking at what has become of the Wagner men once they retire. And basically, a lot of these guys are murderers. They are rapists. They were forgiven their sentences by committing to fight for only 6 months for the Wagner group in Russia, in Ukraine. And once they fight for 6 months, their record is expunged, gone, pardoned. So these guys have not been in prison for 10 years. They haven't, recanted their crimes. And a lot of them have gone back and committed crimes in Russia, murdering again, sexual assault again, all sorts of things. But the best thing is this woman talking about her daughter and saying, I've got daughters. But it goes to show you, actually. Thank you, Slava Ukraine. Appreciate that. It goes to show you, because this is also, the very fact that the Belarusian citizens are worried about having these guys next to them is the same reason, thank you, Wayne, is the same reason the Baltic states and Poland are worried about having them next to them, because they're soldiers for hire. And as Prigozhin showed, sometimes they're not even for hire. Sometimes, thank you, Slava, sometimes they're just there to follow their own, political goals, right? Thank you, user. And what if Prigozhin's political goals are to attack Poland? What if it's to attack the Baltic states? He's not Russia, right? You get into a very weird situation of, it's Article 5, I guess, right? It would trigger the NATO charter if any of these countries were attacked by Wagner, because just like when Al-Qaeda attacked America on 9/11, right? Even if a terrorist group attacks you, it can trigger Article 5, but it's not Russia attacking them necessarily if Prigozhin does it, and we don't necessarily know if he's got the sign off of Russia, right? Thank you, Slava. Anyway, it gets very complicated is my point. So if I were the neighbors, I'd be a little bit worried. In other words, it's not just a clear-cut case of saying, oh, Prigozhin would never dare attack these other countries. Amy, hopefully somebody there can tell you where the membership sign up is. I don't know where it is. I believe you hit the dollar button. Thank you, by the way, Slava, for the confetti. I believe you hit the dollar sign at the bottom of the chat is what somebody had, what Syndicate had said yesterday. And one of the options coming up, hopefully, is subscription, I think, hopefully. Cliff, hey, Cliff, thank you for asking a super chat question. Cliff is saying Ukraine desperately needs Blackhawk, needs Blackhawks, Apache, Cobra gunships, and Chinooks to move equipment. Also, where are the ATACMS and Tomahawk missiles? Well, I will, you know what? I was going to do a quick little pitch, but let me talk about ATACMS first, since you asked about it, and then I'll do my pitch. So there's a story today from the Wall Street Journal that the White House is considering, but only considering, whether to send Ukraine these ATACMS missiles that are, thank you, Wayne, that are these missiles that can go 190, 200 miles or 300 kilometers. A lot of defense folks have been pushing for this for a while. The White House has been afraid, I will use the word, to provide them to Ukraine, initially claiming they didn't want to make Vladimir Putin mad. Now they're claiming, thank you, TikToker, now they're claiming, and I'm sorry, this is all BS. Now they're claiming, well, we just don't know if Ukraine might use them to attack Russia, and we don't want Ukraine to use them to attack Russia. Okay, here's the thing. Ukraine already has cruise missiles that can go that far. Thank you, Slava. The Brits gave the Ukrainians cruise missiles that can go, and thank you, TikToker, for the glasses, cruise missiles that can go 200 miles, 300 kilometers. The French are providing a similar cruise missile to the Ukrainians that can go 200 miles, 300 kilometers. The Americans are saying they can't give the Ukrainians a missile that goes 200 miles, 300 kilometers, because if the Ukrainians get weapons that go 200 miles or 300 kilometers, per se, they'll attack the Russians and World War III will break out, attacking in Russia. Well, if that's the case, why haven't the Ukrainians been using their cruise missiles they got from the Brits, and the cruise missiles, if they got them already from the French, but certainly from the Brits, why haven't they been using those to attack Russia in Russia and cause World War III? This is utter BS from the Biden administration yet again. I'm sorry. Guys, I warned you guys about this. This is why I tell folks, I always tell people that something, sort of a name I coined for myself like 20 years ago was Cassandra from Greek mythology, because Cassandra, I forget the entire myth, but the main point of the Cassandra myth is that she pissed off the gods, of course. Thank you, Chad. And the gods decide to punish her. And they gave her a gift. But of course, as the Greek gods will do, right, there's always a catch. They gave her the gift, and the gift is the gift of foresight. She could see the future. But the punishment, thank you, Poppy, the punishment they gave Cassandra was, you can see the future and nobody will ever believe you. So that was the catch. She would always know the future. And every time she'd tell people, they'd go, get out of here. Sometimes I feel that way with this kind of stuff, because when I go after Biden, there's always a few people who go, don't be mean to Biden. And I'm right about this, guys. He is still playing games about giving aid to Ukraine. So anyway, Wall Street Journal says, listen to this. Wall Street Journal says, officials said that the matter of providing ATACMS, these long-range missiles to Ukraine, is pending approval at the highest levels, and that the deliberations could continue while the U.S. assesses the situation on the ground in Ukraine. First of all, let me read that sentence again, just to see how much of a BS waffle sentence. Listen to this. Officials said that the matter of approving the missiles, the matter is pending approval at the highest levels, and that the deliberations could continue while the U.S. assesses the situation on the ground. In other words, nothing's been decided, and nothing will be decided, and may not be decided for a long time while the U.S. watches what happens in Ukraine. That's all that article says. So somebody leaks to the Wall Street Journal from the White House and says, we're thinking of maybe providing ATACMS, but maybe not. And the Wall Street Journal says, story! That ticks me off. A little bit more here. Officials in the U.S. and Europe have seen signs, however, that previously reluctant quarters of the U.S. government, namely the White House, have come to see an urgent need to bolster Ukraine's fight in the coming weeks. Oh, this, I swear to God, thank you, Mr. Russell. Somebody needs to be fired if this story is true. Because what this story from the Wall Street Journal means is that the White House is getting worried that Ukraine might not be able to pull this off. They're getting worried that Ukraine is having problems, is what this means. And I'm trying not to swear because TikTok's algorithm doesn't like that. YouTube's probably doesn't either. So I try to keep this a G-rated show, as we say in American movie parlance. But we're to believe that the White House is watching the counteroffensive and going, you mean, had we given Ukraine better weapons and more of them, Ukraine might have done better? Holy cow. That's what this article says the White House is coming along on. They're worried Ukraine might not be doing well enough, and maybe they need to give them all those better weapons that we've been refusing to give them. Thank you, Jay Ticker. I just can't with these people. I just can't. I really can't. I mean, either I have said from the beginning, you are either, it's like being half pregnant. We're either in this war or we're not in this war. Thank you, Wayne. And from the beginning, I have said as well, we are a party to this war. Yeah, it's a proxy war. Blah, blah, blah. I don't care, right? Russia likes to say it's a proxy war. We're actually fighting America and NATO. Yeah, you are, actually. You're fighting Ukraine. Thank you, 863 Tom. You're fighting Ukraine, and you're also fighting America and NATO. You are. You're fighting both. You're absolutely fighting both, and that's fine. And that doesn't take anything away from the Ukrainians, because obviously the Ukrainians are actually fighting this war. They're the ones putting their lives down, and they're the ones who are using our weapons and using them so effectively. Because as I've said before, we gave the same kind of training. Oh, thank you, Wayne, for the glasses. We gave the same kind of training that we've given the Ukrainians to the Iraqis and the Afghans and the Afghanistan, the police and the military there. Both of those crumbled when they got this training. The Ukrainians got this training, and they actually basically beat bloody the Russians. They gave the Russians a black eye. So this is not to detract from the Ukrainians, but Jesus, can we just stop playing games with this? We want to, I feel like I said, push me, pull you, push me, pull you. We're treating this where we want to be half pregnant. We want to half help Ukraine. We don't want to. If we fully help Ukraine, Russia might get mad. Let's have. And by the way, all this BS about they could use missiles that go 200 miles long. Thank you, Greg Monroe. Very sweet. Sorry, got to stop saying that. Generous of you to support me with the new membership on YouTube. The other thing is, forget the fact that the Brits have already given weapons to the Ukrainians that go just as far as our missiles. The attack, so that the range of the missile isn't the problem. We've given the Ukrainians missiles that go 60 or 100 miles, like 100 or 150 kilometers. They can use those to attack Russia too. Ukraine borders Russia, okay? All of this border is bordering Russia. Look at this. All of this. At least from here, Ukraine controls the border all along here. Anywhere along here, Ukraine could throw a stone and attack Russia. Ukraine could throw a grenade we've given them. They could use the HIMARS and attack Russia 60 miles, maybe even 100 miles in. Why is it? That's no different. Why is that any different? But somehow these missiles that they need, I'm sorry, it pisses me off, guys, because as I said, one of the things I do very well, I was never in intelligence work, and I really wished I'd gone into it earlier, but what do? Too late now. But I'm very good at reading tea leaves and very good at looking at little details and stringing them together. And it gets me very upset because in this case, I saw early on that Biden was just a little bit too afraid of Putin. And frankly, and there's something, I don't know what it is. There's something else going on too. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Anyway, thank you, Greg. Again, that was very generous of you. Make sure I wasn't missing any questions. Okay, I've got the Blackhawks. All right, got the new members. Thank you guys for that. All right, let me give a quick pitch for my work since we're about halfway into the show. Oh, real quick here. 6Evo says the Pentagon weren't aware of ATACMS talk, supposedly. There was, yes, thank you, Rose. There was a quote from the Pentagon today saying something to the effect, I don't remember the exact quote, but something to the effect of, yes, we're not aware of any fast track, blah, blah, blah being considered or whatever. I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? They may be trying to hide it. I mean, it's hard to know. I know I didn't mention it because I just wasn't sure what it means, but it also shows that they're talking out of all sides of their mouth. Carlos, always generous supporter, new YouTube member. Thank you for there. All right. So I was just going to say, let me do a quick pitch here really quick. Thank you, Christy. So one of the ways you guys support my work is by becoming a member somewhere. Basically simply means supporting my work on a monthly basis. By doing that, you get to make me happy, which is always a good thing. No, I kid. But basically, it helps to give me more of a steady income, regular income coming in each month, which makes it easier to do this work. I do this full time. This is my full-time income. I mean, I really don't. I don't make money from anywhere else currently. For the last year, it's been doing all of this Ukraine news work. Various ways, though, contributions. We've got the Discord, auctions on the Discord that I'll talk about later. Different ways of helping. But one of the ways is simply signing up for a membership. Monthly contribution. By being a monthly contributor, you become a VIP contributor to our Discord community. That means you can join us on the weekends, pretty much every Saturday. I say pretty much because sometimes I'm traveling or whatever, but almost every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time US, that's New York City time or Washington, D.C. time, I do a private show just for the paid subscribers. That includes paid subscribers on TikTok, paid subscribers on YouTube, Discord, Ko-fi, and also Twitch. And we get together, hang out. We usually have my friend Vlad in Ukraine, who's in Ukraine and Ukrainian, joining us. Thank you, Mads. And Vlad, we talk about just the latest news that's going on, ask Vlad what's happening, etc. It's very casual, like a coffee talk or coffee talk, I call it for TikTok. Very casual, but can also get very detailed. The last weekend, we talked all about the coup with Vlad. It was very interesting. So by becoming a monthly member, you get that. You also get to, other than TikTok, because TikTok is being evil, and I apologize. TikTok, we're waiting for them to fix the link where when you become a TikTok subscriber, a monthly subscriber on TikTok, it can connect you to the Discord. The link is broken. It's TikTok's fault, and I apologize. We've told them they haven't fixed it yet. None of the creators have been able to link TikTok to the Discord. But in any case, the way you can do this is TikTok subscribers, you can subscribe on TikTok, but it won't connect to Discord. I apologize. YouTube subscribers, you connect and it will connect you to Discord, but you got to make sure you have a Discord account and connect the two. Ko-fi, same thing. You got to have a Discord account, connect them to. Ko-fi is ko-fi.com/Aravosis. The link is at the bottom of the screen here for you all. For you guys, you can find the Ko-fi link and my Discord link in my profile, the Linktree link in my TikTok profile. And you can do it on Twitch, and Discord itself has a way of signing up as well. A little bit more expensive, but you can sign up on Discord as well. So I've been pushing Ko-fi a lot, which is probably the easiest way. And we can sort of help you connect it to Discord. So it's ko-fi.com/Aravosis, and also the YouTube subscribers, which is the easiest. So thank you guys. Please do sign up if you can. All right, let me keep going here. That was kind of longer than I wanted. So we talked about ATACMS. Ukraine's intelligence chief Budanov is still very concerned that Russia may be getting ready to blow up the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. The Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, Europe's largest nuclear plant, right here, southern Ukraine, south of the river, right at the northernmost point south of the river. Remember that south of the river up to here, the Russians control, and then it cuts over here. So the nuclear plant is under Russian control. The Ukrainians have been worried for a while now that the Russians may be getting ready to blow it. Budanov gave even more details today. Let me read you some of this. He says the plan to blow the plant is fully drafted and approved, and that once the go-ahead is given, the attack can happen in a matter of minutes. He said Ukraine has intelligence that Russian troops have moved vehicles carrying explosives to 4 of the 6 power plant units. So there's 6 nuclear reactors at this nuclear reactor. It has 6 reactor cores. The cooling pond of the plant has been mined with landmines. The plant's nuclear reactors could melt down in anywhere between 10 hours and 14 days if there is no cooling. Raising the voltage in the power supply lines to the plant could bring about a nuclear accident at the lower end of this time frame. Budanov described 2 scenarios for nuclear incident, one being that Russia blows the plant because they're getting kicked out of the north, right? Well, the north of the south, but that basically Ukraine moves in, kicks Russia out of this area, right, kicks them further south, and as a last resort, the Russians blow the plant to be jerks. The other possibility is the Russians blow the plant now in order to stop the Ukrainians from even launching a counteroffensive in the area. Because the Russians' hope would be, and there was some analysis I've shown you guys before, showing that if the plant were to blow, at least the immediate, I'll show you with my pen, the immediate evacuation zone where nobody could be there would be, the plant is here, up to Dnipro, up here, over to Kryvyi Rih. So like this, more or less like this, would be an area that you couldn't even inhabit at all. And then the rest of it would be all the way to Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia, Russia. The rest of it is an area where there would be possible nuclear radiation pollution in the air and stuff like that. And yes, potentially it would be very much so would be considered an Article 5 violation, attack on NATO, because if Russia blows this plant, Russia knows that nuclear radiation will be spreading to NATO countries. And that's for NATO to decide if it truly is an Article 5 attack, meaning an attack where you've attacked a NATO country, so all of us will then, right? An attack on one is an attack on all. But we will see. Anyway, scary news, but they said keep watching it. Russia circulated a letter at the United Nations today denying that it was gonna blow up the nuclear plant, which observers said meant that was pretty much a confession from Russia. Because remember, everything Russia says is a lie, which is going to be relevant in a minute with another story I'm going to tell you. NATO members have tentatively agreed to ask Jens Stoltenberg to remain the alliance head for another year. He's the Secretary General of NATO. And because of what's going on with Ukraine, with the war, but also, I was reading today, because of all the turmoil with Russia, right? Because we're now concerned about, even Putin's position and the turmoil in the Russian military, that NATO doesn't really want to change and have a different leader of sort of the civilian side of NATO. So he probably is going to be asked to stay another year. Okay, this was the part I was going to tell you. So remember, I always tell you, Russia lies. Never believe what the Russians say. Thank you, B. Smith. Never believe what the Russians say. I'm going to tell you something only because it's out there, and I've seen people try to quote this. This is only coming from Russia, which means it's utter BS. Russia's claiming that 2 Ukrainian generals and up to 50 officers were killed in the pizza parlor attack that it did the other day. So far, all we've seen from the pizza parlor attack have been 2 teenage girls who went to get, like, I think they were 14 or 15-year-old girls who went inside to get ice cream, and the Russians blew them up and killed them, and a lot of other people. But 3 Spaniards who were there trying to drum up support for Spain. Absolutely. This is what the Russians do. This is what the Russians do. They lie. But I wanted to mention it just so you know, but just don't believe it. You do, Greg. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, Thank you, Greg. Sorry, I'm being an idiot. Oh, did they die? Well, I knew there were 3. There were 3 Colombians. There were 3 Colombians there, and I read they were injured. I did not. Thank you, Roy. I did not see that any of them died, but I saw that they were injured. That they were there. One famous Colombian writer and 2 journalists. God, I hope they didn't die. But in any case, they were certainly injured. Greg just mentioned a point I forgot, which is the subscribers on YouTube get to use the cool emojis too. And the more subscribers I get, the more emojis they let me add. So I did forget that. Thank you, Greg, for bringing it up. I always forget that for some people, the emoji thing is kind of fun, although I do like emojis. And finally, Mike Pence, Donald Trump's vice president, popped up in Kyiv today in Ukraine. Made a surprise visit. He was the first Republican presidential candidate, or any first presidential candidate at all, I guess, to show up. Pence made some very good remarks. He was very positive, very good. The Ukrainians were very pleased. At this point, he's not doing well in the polls. He's like at 5% among Republicans, but who knows? Who knows what will happen with Trump? Currently, it's still Trump in the lead. And then Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, next in terms of among Republicans. But, anything can happen. Anyway, all right, guys. Oh, okay, now I'll do, that's it for the news. I will do a quick pitch on our auctions, and then we will do Q&A. Let me look here really quick. I've also got an old friend I'm catching up with tonight, and he had said, let's talk at 7, and I said, can't we please do 7:15? So I'm hoping he sees my message and gets back to me about 7:15. I'm just checking my inbox here. Come on. Here we go, Ryan. Here we go. Tell me 7:15 works, Ryan. All right. We are clicking to see Ryan's message. One moment, folks. Yay. Okay, good. So we've got another half hour now. That's excellent. Good. From today. Excellent. Okay. So the other thing we've got is I've got supporting my work, but also helping Ukraine. I do auctions of really cool stuff I get from Ukraine, and 50% of the proceeds from the auction, I basically buy cool stuff from Ukraine. 50% of the money we raise from your guys' bids, send back to Ukraine. Another 50% I keep because I do this full time, as I said, and nobody pays me. You guys pay me, but that's how I get paid. I do this. This is my job. So one of the ways we do it is with the subscriptions, which, like I said, the YouTube subscriptions, keep them coming. Thank you, guys. The Ko-fi subscription, which you can find via the link in my profile on TikTok, the Linktree link. Click it. First thing that comes up is Ko-fi. And when you do those monthly subscriptions, the YouTube, the Ko-fi, the Discord, it makes you a VIP member of our Discord, which gives you access to the public auction that everybody can access, but also the private auction, which is only for the paid members. I will show you just a couple things. I just launched the auctions today. We've got a lot of really cool auction items. This time I've got 10 auction items. They end next Wednesday. They all end on Wednesday, different times throughout the day. As I said, the 5 in the public auction are for everybody. The 5 in the, thank you, Chad. The 5 in the private auction are just for the paid subscribers as a thank you to them. I think this is my best auction selection of the year so far. Thank you, Dawn. Among other things, got a very cool, from the Ukrainian government, a Russian warship Go F Yourself plaque. It's a plaque based on the commemorative stamp. It is not the stamp, but it is a reproduction of the stamp you can see with the Ukrainian soldier giving the middle finger to the Russian warship that sank. That's the Russian warship that, remember, they said Russian warship Go F Yourself. That one's very cool. Another very cool, this one I think is really neat. This was made by one of our Discord members who's Ukrainian American, and she designs jewelry in the style, or designs handicrafts in old Ukrainian craft styles. And this is the style of an old Ukrainian necklace actually, it's a necklace and a choker that she designed, gave it for free to us to auction off. So this is auctioned off. It's very cool. More information on it in the, in the profile. In the Discord. A very cool, this is wrapped in plastic right now, but a very cool commemorative stamp and postcard, first day of issue, of the Ukrainian tractors pulling the Russian tanks. The bottom is the actual stamp, and it's stamped first day of issue in French and Ukrainian. Kind of interesting that it was French and Ukrainian. I thought that was kind of funny. You can see at the bottom, see? I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see. But the and then go back, you see that, and the postcard is it's a very nice print of the card above too. But yeah, it says Perji Jen and premier jour, excuse me. In French, and I love that though, that it's in French. It's so funny that it's not in English too. What's wrong with you people? No, actually, I did. By the way, I did read Zelensky's talking about making English one of the official, I don't know if it's diplomatic languages or something of Ukraine, but it would give it a higher profile that government officials would have to learn it and stuff like that. It'd give it a higher profile for learning. Thank you, Slava Ukraine. And finally, there's 10 items. This will be the last one I'll show you, and then we'll get back to doing the questions. Check. I think these are the ones that I think are the most fun. I'm auctioning off a real Ukrainian military camouflage net. I challenge you to find anybody on TikTok or YouTube who's got one of these. I challenge you. These are really neat. We have been raising money, actually the auction money. We've been raising money with our auction monies to buy these camouflage nets for the Ukrainian military. Basically, the actual material is quite expensive because they need material that is very specialized, right? Because it's got to survive the elements and be the right colors. This is the net they use for either spring or it could be midsummer. It's for an area that's very lush, because if you look, you can see how the green color is a very bright green. So it's almost like new spring colored greens. And this net is about 9 feet by 2 feet. I forget in meters, 9 feet would be 3 meters by 2/3 of a meter. That would work. So we're auctioning this off to folks. Very, and it's the real thing. I mean, these are the nets that they've been making for the Ukrainian military at the Ukrainian military's request. Same loom, same everything. So go check it out on our Discord, discord.aravosis.com. You can check everything out. Thank you, Jetta Mom, for the gift. Okay, let's do Q&A, guys. Remember, on TikTok, you can submit questions via the Q&A link in my profile. You can always do it on the screen, but it scrolls by on the screen, so easier to do in my Q&A link. The rest of you can do it at the bottom of the screen. Super chat and super stickers are always welcome. And remember, gifts on TikTok, still always welcome. I'm going to move my tea out of the way because if I have any more tea, I'm going to be flying through the... How's Ukraine's counteroffensive going? Hard to say because it's slow, but also we're not getting a lot of details. We know that we know it's slow. We know, for example, today that there's been some movement around Bakhmut. Ukraine is doing slowly doing better around Bakhmut. Even the Russians are admitting that there's basically a lot of explosions going on from the Ukrainian side. The Ukrainians are fighting them heavily, but the Russians have very good defenses set up. This is, it looks like this is going to take time, which frankly is something that we should have assumed anyway. I mean, no one should have assumed it was going to be fast. I think the Ukrainians were the only ones who said, look, this isn't going to be fast, but it's going to take time. But I will say this, they're not losing the counteroffensive. It's not like they're losing all their men and losing all their weapons, and the Russians are blowing them up. They are because of what they've got to do. The problem is they're like going through minefields. They have to go through minefields and blow up the mines. At least blow up the mines in certain paths so they can at least make a path through the minefield, right? Who was that? Che? I'm seeing Che for the hat there. Who was that? Oh, Cherry. I'm seeing it said Che. I'm thinking you were Argentine. Cherry Moon, thank you for the hat. So they've got to at least break through with some paths through the minefields. And then they're also going through, what do you call them? Not tunnels, but you know what I mean? The trenches. And they've got to go through these trenches, trench by trench, to basically get all the Russians out of there. And it's very dangerous business. So it takes a while, you know, and they need several paths. Exactly what Jesse was saying. They need several paths because basically, I mean, the idea is, okay, I was reading about this the other day and it made sense. You've got a minefield. Okay. Let's pretend, well, right. We know the Ukrainians are north and the Russians are in the south. Okay. Let's pretend this is the Russian headquarters or whatever, right? This is the minefield. In order to get through them, and let's pretend this could be 20 miles across. Thank you, Dora. In order to get through the minefield, you could put all of your troops like this and slowly try to blow up the mines and keep going through. That's going to take a lot of work because you've got like basically from one end of my pen to the other is like 10 miles. That's a lot of mines you're trying to clear going slowly, 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 right? Or you could move the pen like this and cut through the minefield like this. Oh, thank you, Hazel, for the dinosaur gift. Very generous of you on TikTok. And I'm a big dinosaur fan. Thank you for that. So if you're moving through like this, in other words, you blow up the mines in front and then people follow you in back. That is certainly a much more efficient way of doing it. And then, as I forget who it was who was just saying on TikTok, you might want 3 paths like this in this, but 3 paths like this is still a lot less than doing it this way coming through. So you don't need to blow up an entire minefield to get through, but you do need, 3 good paths or however many it is to get through. That takes time. It still takes time. But it was interesting. Thank you, Lee. When I was reading that, because I was going, yeah, that does, it makes sense, right? That you imagine like people walking through a minefield, right? You follow the path of the person in front of you because you know that they cleared that path, that it's safe, and you go one by one, and it's much safer than going side by side. So there you go. All right, let's CNN, the Biden administration is strongly considering approving the transfer of controversial cluster munition warheads to Ukraine. Multiple people told CNN, well, that's good. That is something Ukraine's been asking for a while. Cluster munitions, I guess, are sort of controversial or whatever, but a lot of the experts were saying it'd be nice if Ukraine, if that's another thing that would be helpful for Ukraine to get. Again, I'm going to stop saying it's pissing me off that once again, why wasn't this approved yesterday? Why wasn't this approved last year? The thing is, we should be at the point in the war at this point that there are no sanctions left and there are no weapons left. There's weapons, but not like, hey, here's a new weapon we can give Ukraine. That discussion, it kind of reminds me like you have cancer and you're a year into having cancer and it's really touch and go. And the doctor says a year, even better, 489 days into having cancer. Thank you, Lee. The doctor says, there's a treatment that's pretty good. And I thought about it early on. I just wasn't sure you deserved it, right? But now that you're not doing so well, I'm really thinking about it. No, right? From day one, you consider what is needed and you give it and you do it. If it is valid, you do it. But you don't sit there. There shouldn't be anything left to do in terms of sanctions. Every sanction we should do should be done against Russia at this point. There should be no more, new round of sanctions. The European Union, not to blame Europe, because America is the same thing. European Union, I believe, is on its 11th round of sanctions. They shouldn't have another round. It should be done, right? And same thing for this. It just, my God, cluster munitions and ATACMS, because nobody thought about it except everybody actually thought about it. Thank you, Lee. Well, the NATO general, W.C. Fields is saying you'd think the NATO generals would be more forward thinking. It depends who you talk to. A, the problem might be the French and the Germans. The problem B might be the Hungarians. The Hungarians might have said from the beginning, because the Hungarians are in league with the Russians, basically have said, you do any of that, you give them any of their really good stuff and we're pulling out, right? C, we believe that General Milley, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, America's top military official, thank you, Pauline, a top uniformed military official, that he and Jake Sullivan, who's the national security advisor to President Biden, both have been the problem. A lot of people believe that they're the ones who have been whispering in Biden's ear saying, oh boy, that Putin, very dangerous man, you don't want to piss him off, right? And that's what's going on, This doesn't have to deal with America being woke. We're not given, the problem with Ukraine isn't that our military is more diverse and we don't let people hate blacks anymore. That's not why we're not giving them the weapons. We've been giving them a lot of weapons. We're not giving them the weapons because Biden is still worried about pissing off Putin and he needs to get over it. And that's the problem. It has nothing to do with, the fact that we no longer let you say the N word in the military. A, that's a good thing that we don't. And B, big deal. That's not the problem. So No, I just get annoyed when people bring up the woke thing because that's a really cute Republican talking point that once again is meant to lie to Republican voters and not tell them the truth about what's going on. That's not the problem. The problem is that he's just not, he's afraid of Putin, basically. All right. More questions. Let me go to TikTok. My phone. TikTok questions. Let's put on my glasses. Easier to read. TikTok. Beep, 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 beep. Thank you for the heart there, Pauline. I saw that. Here we go. Hey, Magical. Let's say the Ukrainians get the new ATACMS missiles. Does that change the whole ball game, and how will they use them? That is a little over my head. Thank you, pediatric nurse. I don't know. I really don't know. I know people have been saying that something I read recently, the experts were saying it's not like it changes the ball game entirely. And it's not like, oh my God, once they get these missiles, they win everything. My suspicion is it significantly helps the Ukrainians because these are missiles. They're fired by the HIMARS. They can go as far as the British cruise missiles. The British cruise missiles cost, $2 million a piece, I believe, for the British cruise missiles. Are they even that cheap? I think they're that cheap. Haha. $2 million a piece. ATACMS, do ATACMS cost the same? Does anybody want to Google while we're talking? How much, not the ATACMS, like not the sort of the system, but the actual missile itself. Thank you, Leslie. How much does the actual ATACMS missile cost? But basically, you are giving Ukraine has a small number of weapons that can go 200 miles and pack a punch. Those are the cruise missiles. If they get ATACMS, they've now got twice as many or 3 times as many weapons that can go that same distance. So they can hit more targets. To start with, that's why they're important. Some of the military folks could perhaps tell you more about what, oh boy, that sounds super high. I just realized my mic was on like super high. It's going to adjust for a second and make it low, and then it should adjust to normal. Sorry. On TikTok especially. Oh no, on TikTok you guys are okay, but on YouTube. The price per unit for ATACMS is estimated to be well over 1 million. So actually, the price for the missiles probably it could be the same as the British Storm Shadow, but bottom line is, it's more. It's like giving Ukraine 2 or 3 times as many missiles as they've got now that can go the same distance. Thank you for the heart there. Right, they can go the same distance, so it means they can hit more things. Now, as far as what they can hit, the further distance they go, the better chance they have of hitting ammunition storage. The better chance they have of hitting Russian barracks, military barracks that the troops stay in. Better chance of hitting command and control, which are military headquarters, fuel. There's all the sort of supplies and everything else the Russians need. The Russians move further away. The Russians can only move them so far away because after a while it gets to be difficult. John is a CIA operative. John wishes he was a CIA operative because John would have an unlimited supply of money rather than having to beg you for little mariachi hats to go on my head to pay the bills. then we'd be it'd be a different kind of show then. Anyway. All right. Not mariachi. That was a fruit hat. That was a Carmen Miranda hat, I think, which I was very happy to receive, by the way. Those make me laugh. There's the mariachi. Thank you, Lee. I knew I got the hat wrong. All right. Anthony is a super chat question. Thank you, Anthony. Wagner Group was very near to taking over Russian military heads, of capturing the 2 heads of the Russian military. Yep. Would it not be easier for them to take over Belarusian military heads? Yeah. That's the thing. Anthony's talking about the fact that what Prigozhin's plan was when he launched the coup, he was going to kidnap the 2 heads of the Russian military, the Minister of Defense, which is basically the Secretary of Defense for Americans, Shoigu, and the Chief of the General Staff, which is the same thing as the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the top uniformed military official, who's General Gerasimov. Prigozhin was going to kidnap the 2 of them. Both of them were in Rostov, which is a Russian city down close to Ukraine. I think it's over here, close to Ukraine, and he was gonna go and kidnap them. He probably could very easily cause a lot of trouble in Belarus if, in fact, his men join him there. The question is, why would he do it, right? But it's, what I think the Belarusians might have been playing kind of a cute game, like Lukashenko, who's the dictator there. He may have been intervening and saying, "Oh, please put the Wagner groups, put the Wagner groups with me in Belarus," because he was thinking somehow this gives him more power vis-a-vis Putin or something. Like he could become buddies with Prigozhin or something, right? And Wagner would be used against the Russians someday. I don't know. But the problem is that Wagner has a mind of its own. You've basically invited the mafia into your country, and the mafia is going to want a share of everything, right? So all of a sudden, Prigozhin becomes a power player. I mean, Lukashenko's now got a guy with his own military that knows how to train soldiers, even if he's only got 5,000 men. Depends how many men he's got. Now, Prigozhin, in principle, should have a couple $1 billion just because he's a billionaire anyway. He's an oligarch. Anyway. Well, that's interesting. Wilson says, unless Lukashenko hired them. Now, that's kind of funny, too. That's true. Wilson. Now, that's a scary thought. I don't know if you meant this, Wilson, but what if Lukashenko hires Wagner to train the Belarusian military to be like Wagner, right? To be basically cutthroat. And I mean, the Wagner group, they're war criminals, absolutely, but they're very good at what they do. They're extremely good soldiers, even though they're extremely bad men. And what if, wow, that's really interesting. That's right. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. What if Lukashenko, the dictatorship of Belarus, wanted them to go there so he could hire them either to be his army or to train his army? And Prigozhin, soldier for hire, he doesn't care. I mean, Prigozhin's willing to work for any nasty gut for Assad in Syria. He'll work for Belarus. Now, Putin may or may not like it. Who knows? That's very interesting. Well, I hadn't really thought of that. If it comes up, we can. I think that's I think that's what you meant, Wilson. If not, Wilson gave me an idea. But either way, that's very interesting. Hey, Jade, that is really scary. Let me see here. IAEA think tank and IAEA as well as Western intelligence claim they haven't seen any mines or threats about the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Could this be a false flag from the Russians? Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the IAEA is the International Atomic Energy Agency. It's an agency of the United Nations that oversees, sort of nuclear energy kind of thing. They recently paid a visit to the Zaporizhzhia plant. They said they didn't see anything that looked like it was going to blow up, basically. Who knows? Who knows what they saw? Who knows what they were given access to? I will say this, because the Ukrainians also, when the IAEA was there, maybe the Russians took it away and then put the bombs back when the IAEA left. The Ukrainians have been so insistent about this every day. Zelensky himself came out and talked about it, about the fact that the Russians are planning to blow up the nuclear plant. And then you had the Ukrainians giving even more detail today about specifically what the Russians were bombing. They have trucks to blow up four of the nuclear plants. They've got landmines around the cooling pool. I mean, that's a lot of detail. And it just makes me think that it makes me fear that Ukraine might be right, basically, right? That I don't think, first of all, I don't think Ukraine would lie to us about this in the West. And the amount of detail they're giving, yeah. Also, who knows? For all we know, I don't know. I was going to say maybe they're getting it from Western intelligence. I don't know what intelligence is showing. It'd be interesting to know what Western intelligence is seeing in terms of satellites and stuff like that, I think they would. I mean, Der Spiegel is asking, different Der Spiegel, do you think the Russians will blow up the nuclear plant in Ukraine? Let me put it this way. Do I think the Russians would blow up the nuclear plant? Of course, right? Do I think they will? I don't know. But would they? Of course they would, right? I mean, they're literally committing genocide in Ukraine. There's nothing that I would put past them, right? All the war crimes they've committed, they're stealing children, right? So of course they blow up, but it looks like they blew up a dam. Of course they blow up a nuclear plant if they can get away with it, or in some other way they felt it would benefit them. Of course they would. Because we know they don't care about civilians. But will they? I don't know. What else we got? Look at the questions again on here. We'll go a few more minutes. I've got to, well, quarter after my call starts, so I'll stop a little bit before that. Oh, hang on. Opening my deep. Opening my phone. Here we go. More TikTok questions. Quick update. You missed everything. War still on. Ukraine hasn't lost. Russians still in turmoil after the coup attempt. That's a pretty good summary. Let me see here. Right, cluster munitions. Is it possible the coup was part of Putin's strategy to back out from the war since they, Prigozhin, and he were friends before? I mean, maybe. I guess I feel like, by the way, Michael, it's your, not your. Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. If you're going to be a Russian troll, learn to speak proper English. It's something we require of our trolls. This is a kind of a, we're kind of a more erudite group here. in my lives, we expect proper English from our Russian trolls. Russia just isn't sending us their best and brightest folks. A very low level troll, exactly. They're not even sending us the top folks. They're sending us the low level folks. Anyway, what were we saying? What was the? Sorry, I was looking at your question. Whether Putin was behind the coup? Maybe. Look. We know, that's right, an angel gets its wings. Well, I didn't zap it. When I zapped the troll, an angel gets its wings. Exactly. That was one of our TikTok mods that zapped it. Thank you, Derek, for that. What was I saying? Oh my God, I'm tired too. Oh, Lordy. All right, Putin being behind it. We think that Putin went and exactly grammar. We think that Putin went and blew up a series of apartment buildings in Moscow back in 1999 to help cement him sort of self in the presidency. If he was willing to do that, then, and literally kill hundreds of Russians just to sort of be able to then say, terrorists, Vladimir Putin will save the day, right, is what happened. I think anything's possible. Would he fake a coup? Sure. Or even better. We believe that Russian intelligence found out about the coup. We believe that this general, Surovikin, was told by Prigozhin about the coup. What if one of them did, in fact, tell Putin? What if Russian intelligence told Putin and Putin decided to let the coup go ahead anyway because he thought that this threat to his power might rally the Russian people? I mean, it's possible. I think it's risky, but it's possible. And Putin might have thought, there's no way they can succeed at doing this. So he just figured, what the hell? No, I think that's a definite possibility. Sorry, I'm going to yawn at you here. That's a definite possibility. Hi, Marion. Joining late from DC. Exactly. Marion's in DC. I'm actually hanging up shortly, Marion, because I've got all my friends are not in town. I've got an old friend as well that I'm FaceTiming with in 5 minutes. So gonna have to go in a minute here. What else we got, guys? There we go. I'm not sure what that's about, Mike. FSB detonator. I don't know what that's about, though. What else we got, guys? More questions. Russian intelligence is two guys fighting over being the third dumbest person in the room. Yep. What else we got? Oh, man. I'm going to yawn at you guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, the radiation will spread to other countries. That's the concern. I mean, the concern is that if the Russians blow up the nuclear plant, the data I saw the other day, who knows? I'm sure other data differs, but the plant is here. There would be an exclusion zone more or less like this. So this area, nobody could live in, okay? Which would be very bad. An area down to like here, if you're seeing all the way to Lviv. So kind of from here to here, and then go in a circle, okay? Like this. So you're in Russia, you're over to Moldova, you're over to Bulgaria, Romania, you go down here to Turkey, Georgia. All of those areas potentially would have a radioactive cloud hit them, which would be very bad. So, and that would be a NATO violation, you'd think. All right, guys, let me do a quick summary of the stories we hit on today, and then I'm going to call it quits. I was going to do a Discord, but I can't now because, as I said, I'm seeing an old friend on FaceTime tonight at 7:15 that I forgot about, so alas. Oh, we have the fake community guidelines person again. Oh, everybody go and report this guy. It's a fake, somebody pretending to be TikTok. Mods will block him, but actually make sure people go and report the person first. It's somebody pretending to be TikTok. But report it to them because TikTok will not look kindly. Also, okay, I've told you guys, they're not sending us our best and brightest. I just announced I'm signing off. And somebody says, if you don't, I have to read this to you. Warning, permanent ban will pursue. Permanent ban will pursue. Okay, that's not English. First of all, permanent ban will pursue if live video does not end within 5 minutes. Except that I told you that I was ending it in 2 minutes. So why would you come and tell us we have to end it in 5 minutes? Russia is not sending us their best and brightest. I'm telling you guys, it's very sad. We need to put up a wall. Oh, so sad. So sad. All right. In any case, all right, guys. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for reporting the person. Let me give you the quick review of the news. Day 490 of Putin's 3-day special. Oh, 490. I was thinking 489. Ukrainian military spokesperson says there's been some advancement near Bakhmut. Surovikin, commander of the Russian Air Force, is still missing, presumed at least being detained by the Russians, if not being held for questioning. The Wagner group, it looks like the Wagner group is not going to be operating in Russia anymore, which is going to cause big problems or in Ukraine, which is going to cause big problems for the war in Ukraine. Construction is underway of a site for the Wagner mercenaries in Belarus. The local Belarusian people are not pleased. Per the White House, they might be, or per the Wall Street Journal, I should say, the White House might be considering approving ATACMS long-range missiles for Ukraine, which would be really good, but the story was a bit iffy. Ukraine's military intelligence chief Budanov says he is very concerned that Russia is ready to blow the nuclear plant. Russia has circulated a letter at the United Nations saying it does not plan to blow the nuclear plant, which is pretty much an admission. NATO members have tentatively agreed to keep Jens Stoltenberg as Secretary General of NATO for another year in view of all the turmoil. Russia claims it killed a number of Ukrainian military folks at the pizza parlor it bombed yesterday, but Russia lies routinely. Never believe a single report they give you. Always wait until you get it from a legitimate news source. Never believe Russia. And finally, Mike Pence, vice president to Donald Trump, but also Republican presidential candidate, arrived in Kyiv today, which was very cool. And he's been very supportive of Ukraine. So we're very pleased that he went there. Very cool. Oh, 500th day special. That's just tomorrow? No, we've got 10 more days. Yeah, I don't know what the special would be, but I'm game. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off because I got to contact my friend in 2 minutes for a catch up. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the signups on YouTube for the new members. I appreciate it. And make sure I didn't miss any. Okay, I've not missed any questions. Excellent. And yeah, so remember, you can support my work by becoming a member if you care for it. It's a monthly subscription. You can go to Ko-fi, which is ko-fi.com/Aravosis. You guys can go there in my profile on TikTok, click the Linktree link. Ko-fi is the first thing. It's a way to sign up monthly, but you can also do it by signing up and becoming a member on YouTube. A subscriber on YouTube, you become a monthly subscriber, and on YouTube, automatically it connects you to my Discord. If you have a Discord set up and you become a VIP member there, that gives you lots of other things, like joining us on the weekends. All right, guys, thank you all so much. I appreciate all the support and all your help, and I will see you guys tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. At 6 p.m. New York City time, okay? All right, see you guys. Bye-bye. Perfect timing.